Hey, I'm MellyS The Story Collector, and this is the Courage 1000 Project, the show where we share personal stories of inner courage from all around the world to inspire you to find your own. In today's episode, we're talking with Fay Chan. What we're going to talk about is how your freedom from your beliefs can be really liberating. And she's going to share with us her story about how she finally found her groove in the culmination of all her work experience after 4.5 years of being in business for herself. Now, Fay is a money and budgeting coach, and she uses EFT tapping, which is the emotional freedom technique, to help her clients alleviate stress and anxiety associated with financial well-being issues. Her approach to financial solutions lied not only in the practical and logical, but also in the emotional awareness of how we deal with money. So she really offers a complete holistic angle to getting you back in your power. Now, before we jump into the interview, we do have to say a quick thank you to our episode sponsor, Samantha Jansen Publishing. She publishes books for individuals wanting to write an autobiography, small business owners writing a book to leverage and monetize their profile, and much, much more. So if this is something you're interested, jump over to samanthajansenpublishing.com for more information. And now, on with the show. The first question I always ask is, why do you want to share this particular story with everybody?
Because I think a lot of people are feeling trapped within themselves, and not trapped because they can't do anything about it, but because there's a lot of social expectations that are not theirs, right? So you've got your parents, you've got the social, you've got your peers, you've got what you think you should do, and you've got your culture as well. Right?
Yeah.
And having come from a different culture and different ethnicities have different expectations, you form all those opinions and goals thinking they're yours, but they're actually not.
Yes,
Right?
that's fun.
And when you realize that you spent your life getting your degrees, doing your jobs, earning the really good income and all that stuff to serve as an expectation that's actually not coming from you, like the core of you, but it's coming from everything else outside of you that's formed in what you think is good or what you think is bad or what you think is successful or not, that you're servicing a goal that's not yours.
Yes. So where did your story start then? Where does this all begin for you?
Well, it all began back in 2004, right? So for me, having come from an Asian cultural background, and we migrated from Malaysia when I was 9 years old. So you're going to think it's academics. It's very filial piety. In other words, respect for elders, and it's always the male side of the line that's favoured over the female side of the line, right? Um, Cultural expectations of the value they put on money. Having money means you're successful. If you don't, means you're not successful or haven't made it in life.
Yeah.
And I guess that's across all other cultures, even Western cultures too, but much more from the survival context of a lot of ethnicities, right? You won't only see this in the Chinese, you see this in the Indians, you see this in the Jews, in the Mediterraneans, right? So it came from all those expectations. So, I did high school, got a really good VCE score, or what they call enter school now. I'm in Victoria. And then got into Melbourne University with a double degree. It was Commerce and Arts. And then at the end of that degree, got 2 or 3 graduate job offers. And I chose one with a large IT consulting firm. So all set, and I went and did my traveling, came back to start the role. And when I got there, and we were, I remember a specific moment, we were training, a graduate training in Chicago. So the company flew us over to Chicago to train. And I'm sitting there going, I'm actually in the toilets. And I remember thinking to myself, chatting, with other colleagues and other graduates in my class, going, this isn't what I signed up for. Like all this IT stuff, programming stuff, all the different processes and systems, and and things like that. I'm just going, this isn't what I thought I signed up for. Not because the job description wasn't there, right? But it's the world of work and how I wanted to be utilized. That wasn't what I signed up for. You
Yeah.
know, I signed up for a process, signed up for what people expected. I signed up for the name of this big firm on my CV, but it wasn't a fulfillment of what I thought I'll be used for,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So there was a
So there was
mismatch between yourself and their expectations.
correct.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I think it's myself and what I got myself into.
Yeah. Yeah.
Had nothing to do with the
Reality.
company, right? And then, and anyway, so did a few, a few years passed, and they had they recruited too many people at that time, so they gave us what we call flex leave, and it meant that we could take leave from the company 6 to 12 months and still get 50% of pay, right? So I went, great opportunity, let's go for flex leave, and I did. And then the security of not having a job, or the insecurity of not having a job, got me back into another job. And this time I was in a graduate program with the Victorian Auditor General's Office, VAGO, right? So I thought I'll try the accounting side because it's the IT side. I'll try the accounting side because that's what I had qualifications for, being from a Bachelor of Commerce and Bachelor of Arts, right? So I went into VAGO, the Auditor's General's Office, and I'm like, and I'm there on different departmental client sites, right? Because I'm there at the Department of Education, and I'm substantially testing some files and things, are very auditor oriented things on invoices and things. And I'm sitting here going, this isn't what I signed up for either.
Yep. Yep.
So here I am, having been in 2 graduate roles, right? And I'm sitting there going, right, so shall I do my CPA, like my accounting qualification, or not? And I remember sitting there in the exam. I got myself to the point where I had to do the exam. And back then, there's this massive, thick textbooks, corporate textbooks. There's all compliance stuff, right, about what you can and can't do in a situation. And I walked out of the exam.
Good
I
work.
just went from here on in. I'm not going to do anything that I'm not passionate about. Like, I walked out of the exam.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to get myself qualified in anything I'm not passionate about.
Yeah.
Because really, I wasn't passionate about my commerce degree at all. If it wasn't for my arts degree and the philosophy and the anthropology subjects I did there, it wouldn't have gotten me through my Bachelor of Commerce either. It was so dry.
Yeah.
And so, but I went back to the other graduate role that I took the flex leave from, and I did a few more years there. And every single Christmas drinks, we were all chatting and yakking about getting a better pay with a better job, but really you're just going from one to another to another. It's like cookie cutter, and it's just a different circumstance, but you're doing the same thing. You're in the corporate arena.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was really getting dissatisfied in myself. And I went and actually did a personal development course that really shone the light on how come you are the way you are given your past experiences. And I remembered a specific event when I was 7 years old in this personal development course, when I brought home a report card and I slipped grades. And this is back in Malaysia, where academics is really important. And my dad punished me for having slipped grades from term 1 through to term 2. And this is in grade 1. I was 7 years old, by the way, and that's how the school system is in Malaysia. It probably still is. And so I got punished, and I thought to myself, in order to get my parents' love, I must do well.
Yes.
So that I must do well got me through high school, got me through university because I did well, right? And got me those jobs that I did because I did well.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm sitting there, I think as a 28-year-old at that time, going, so my 7-year-old self chose my career, not me. Like it was
mind-boggling,
determined,
isn't it?
yeah, it was determined by a truth that you had as a 7-year-old, or you had as a 6-year-old or 5-year-old, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That truth determined my outcome.
Yeah. And that
And
truth
I'm
is
like,
in the eyes of a child. So that truth is skewed from an adult's perspective.
yeah. And so it became my reality and I was in my late 20s at that time, and I'm going, fruit, right? And the day I realized that night, I wrote my resignation letter.
Good
The
work.
next day, I resigned with nothing else to go to,
Yeah.
because I realized one more day here means one less day discovering what I'm passionate about. And I had no idea what that was, none. But I knew by having one more day here and not having taken that leap, it will mean one less day discovering what I'm passionate about.
So it was a
So the
huge
next
leap of
morning,
faith for you.
oh, huge. When I was handing over my resignation letter, I was sobbing, because it was such a threat to my personality, such a threat to my values, such a threat to my own security. And all this is perceived, right?
Yeah.
But they're perceived threats. And I was feeling really threatened, because I'm resigning from the life that I know that I should have.
Yeah.
Right. So when I was resigning, I was bawling my eyes out. And I remember there was a senior partner at that particular client as well. And he took me into another room, meeting room, said, "What's wrong? Are we not treating you right? Blah, blah, blah. Why have you resigned today? Are you sure?" And then I told him what I told you.
Yeah.
One more day here means one less day discovering what I'm passionate about. And I need to go do that whilst I still can, right?
Yeah.
I've got savings behind me. Worst case scenario, I go back to a job, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but I need to start discovering. And then he actually stopped, thought about it, and then he goes, "Well, Faye, I wish you all the best, because I wish I could do what you're doing, but I've got 3 kids and a mortgage."
Wow. That's huge.
Right? And he's like, "That's what I mean. You're caught in a trap
Yeah.
and can't walk out." Right? Quoting Suspicious Minds from Elvis Presley. "You're caught in a trap. I can't walk out." Because it really is. You think it's the love for the role, but no, it's love for the lifestyle maintenance, for the season of your life. That this particular person had a mortgage and 3 kids. You have to be responsible for those particular aspects too, or do something about them, right?
Yeah.
And it's hard when you've got other people to consider. I get that. There's a bigger impact there. Than I was 28, single, had savings behind me. At that time, was still living at home. So I'm like, sweet as, I can take the risks.
Yes. Yeah. So
I
what
took it.
happened? What happened when you took the risk?
I then was thinking, what do I want to do? And I'm thinking, I love working with people, because back at uni, I had a lot of retail and hospitality jobs, and I actually loved the interaction with people.
Yeah.
And then a friend of mine was starting up a recruitment company. So I went, why don't I join you? I like people, I can do stuff. Let's just give it a go. So I did. And what I enjoyed about it was interviewing people and finding out their concerns, rather than it is putting them to the job.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So the interview process was the part that you loved the most.
I love that the most. And because I got to know the human being.
Yes.
And so I just went, okay, so let's get into training and development.
Yeah.
And then I somehow, at that time, my then boyfriend and myself moved to Dubai, and I managed to find a role facilitating for a corporate training company. And I started working with them. And when I came back to Australia, I continued working with them. But then afterwards, the personal development company that I did my courses with offered me a role.
Wow.
And they're called Landmark Education, right? And I did plenty of courses. I kept on going with courses and peeling back my own layers and stuff like that. And I was offered to go on staff. And a place like that isn't a job, it's a vocation, because you're dealing with yourself to create the results they have for work, right? And you're dealing with other people's personal development issues and being the clearing and leading in that for them.
Yeah.
And for example, let's just say I was in charge of a course called the Landmark Forum. I was in charge of getting people to the course paid up in full and turning up. But the Landmark Forum looks at all different aspects of your life that you're really confronted by but want to break through in.
Yeah.
So what comes up before the course is all the crap you need to get through to get yourself to the course.
Yeah.
Like a lady said, I don't want to I want to break through in my jealousy because I'm really jealous of my husband, right? But the course is 3.5 days long. I don't want to leave him alone.
Yeah. So
You
all
get
the
that?
psychological things are coming up, which are stopping them from actually getting there in the first place.
Correct. And that's the breakthrough she wanted. So you're dealing with people and their values and their insecurities. And I worked in that. So I had to deal with myself to deal with them.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was the most beautiful and brutal training that I've ever had in any job. In any job. It wasn't a job, it was a vocation, I reckon. You know, and then after that, I still worked inside training and development, but in the corporate side. And then I started working in my budget,
Okay.
right, which is a company that helps people with their budgeting.
Yeah.
And I always had people come up to me and ask me about finances and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I thought, oh, this is like my love for personal finance and my coaching site coming together in one, you know.
Yeah.
So I started working for my budget, and I realized at that time how many people have no idea about their money issues. It
Yes.
was a different level, but concentrated in a specific topic, right? Obviously with the budgets and things, and people that turned up had a real transformation as well, because you needed to regurgitate your life financially. So by the time I had the spreadsheet in front of me of your budget, like what you spend your money and time on, what the expense items are, what you've got left or haven't got left, it was your life on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
And people were petrified, and they still are,
Yeah.
right? So it was a new level. It was a different conversation, but concentrated on people's life, but through their numbers.
Yeah. So you were still doing personal development with them, but it was more focused through their finances that you were helping them see that.
Yeah. And I was working obviously for a company, and I was in charge. I was the coal face, and it was more like a sales role to have them sign up to the company, to have the company manage their budgets for them, manage the money for them, right?
Yeah.
Which was great. And then I got, after that, I got married, got pregnant, and when maternity leave came about, and I had, you know, and I was thinking about returning to work, and I did the sums, it didn't compute for me.
Yes.
And that's when my husband went, why don't you start your own, like really coach people in how they are about their money, and coach people so that they can really regain the power back within themselves in the area of money. And so I went, okay, cool. And that's how Budgeting 123 came about.
Wow. So it really was bringing all your life experience together into the one business.
Yep, it really is. And I mean, it still continues, because I've come to realize across the last couple of years that people are still very deer in the headlights about finances, right?
Yeah.
By the time they reach out for my help, they're ready and they're aware, but they've dealt with the whole pipeline of emotions: embarrassment, being ashamed, being scared, being fearful of it.
Yeah.
You know, that like the life keeps going, they're okay with it, but they're just surviving, and they're not willing to intervene. And so I'm going, how do I how do I help that part of the pipeline before they're ready to come see me about the budgets, right?
Yeah.
And I've known about EFT, emotional freedom technique, tapping,
Yeah.
for about a decade, because one of the ladies that I trained with, I've known with landmark education through my personal development background. So I've known her since then. And I thought, do you know what? EFT is becoming a lot more mainstream now,
Yes. Yes, it is.
right?
Most people know what it is these days.
And so I'm like, I am going to tap into that part of the pipeline with tapping.
I love it.
Right? And so I just rang my mentor up. I said, Jenny, when's your next course? And she goes, X date. I'm like, great, I'm there. So I got onto it, but I want, and it's a modality that I'm so passionate about and in love with, because it's just effective and fast, and it allows me to come through, like my prowess with coaching that I've had.
Yeah.
Right? Because when people are in front of me, I can go straight for the jugular and go bang, 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 bang and deal with it, right? But I need to get them in front of me.
Yes.
And tapping is such a mindful practice that is gentle enough, but enough to have no escape.
I like
Do you
it.
know what I mean? As in when you're tapping and you're talking about it, right? There's no escape. You're talking about it. You need to be mindful of it and tapping yourself and following me at the same time.
Yeah.
And the breakthroughs will come, because it's about my 7-year-old event about my report card.
Yeah.
That by tapping, you will tap into that event for yourself, about money, or about your relationship to money, or about your mum or your dad. And it will come up. There's no escape, and you don't know when it's going to come up, and you don't even know that's the memory that's been cemented for you that's going to come up.
Yeah.
And so tapping just accesses it really, really powerfully and really quickly, and you can break through major significant blockages in as little as 3 or 4 sessions, and that's 3 or 4 hours versus sitting in a course for 3 or 4 days. Now, the courses do have an advantage as well of being immersed in the conversation, and I love personal development courses. But for people that are wanting to do tapping one-on-one, it is a very fast and effective solution, and fast and effective mindfulness practice for you to get to something really quickly. So that's why I thought, yeah, it's like tapping into the money. Money has people go crazy. You introduce money into any relationship, or business, relationship, parent-child relationship, whatever, people go crazy.
Yes, yes. And as you were saying earlier, it's all those societal expectations that are put on us that drive that fear and the everything else around it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So
this journey for you then, where did courage really present itself, and what does it mean for you?
Where does courage present itself? Courage presents itself when you've got a very fearful thought that is right on point.
I like it. Yep.
Right? And and look, I call it fearful, but it feels fearful, like threatening to us. But it actually comes from a place of purity and love.
Yep.
But it scares the shit out of people. Like when I knew I needed to resign, and I handed over the resignation letter, and that was resigning from my life as I knew it. That's scary. That's really scary. Right? But the courage was back before then, when I saw the event and I saw the realization. But you can see it and you can say, oh, nice realization. Thank you for sharing with me. And then go on with your life.
Yeah.
Right? And that courageous moment bypasses you, and bypass the opportunity to be courageous. Now, being courageous requires action, so that courage does show up for you to utilize in the action.
I like it. I like it.
Right? So for me, the courageous action was the realization and then acting on it, called I'm going to tell my parents I'm going to leave work. I've typed up the letter and I'm bawling my eyes out, but I'm handing over the letter.
Yeah.
That's where the action's required. Like, I was still petrified, but you just have to do it to honor yourself. So courage isn't just realization. Realization is just a thought. It is not courageous to have a thought. You can just have many thoughts.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, nice thought. Oh, another thought. Oh, thanks for sharing with me.
Yep.
You know, thoughts. Thoughts mean don't have the oomph, the whatever the, you know, it doesn't have currency. It doesn't have emotional currency.
Yeah.
What has emotional currency is the action that follows the thought.
Do you feel you are destined to make an impact in this world, but are struggling to find the courage to share your story? Jump over to mellys.com.au for free training, presentations and videos, or simply stay tuned for the next episode of the Courage 1000 project.